Welcome to Mupdates, your monthly Medfield updates. I'm AUDREY ENSOR, and this episode is all about March 2021. We're covering the PorchFest event announcement and election results from the annual town election. Medfield TV hosted the one-year anniversary live celebration for the Mike Paige Doodle Club this month, and also produced a show with Mike Quinlan about the elementary school project, in which he answered questions submitted from the public. We'll wrap up this episode with updates from Representative Jake Auchincloss and the Medfield School Committee. First up is the PorchFest announcement.
PorchFest is Saturday, May 1st from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is a free, family-friendly experience with live outdoor music at homes around town. Last year, they had 27 sites. Audrey and I had so much fun driving around town, taking photos and videos of everyone. The event includes all kinds of music, some individuals, some families, some friends playing together. It's a music lover's dream and entertaining for everyone. The Cultural Alliance of Medfield will have a map and listing of the musicians, their schedules, and the type of music you'll find on their website, www.medfieldculture.org. There will be lawn signs out the week prior to help you, the audience, find the musicians. Again, it's going to be Saturday, May 1st from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Be sure to check the schedule with Medfield Culture, as some musicians will play the entire time, some for just an hour or two. So be sure to check the schedule and plan ahead. Some examples of who has already signed up are Mike Mason, who's back at the Dale Street School, and his acoustic guitar. Tom Dupre will be on the trumpet with a splash of jazzy sauce on Causeway. You can hear a beach rock band with Jason Ebbs on Bridge Street, where you'll also find Andy Costello and her fiddle. Up on Evergreen, you'll find Larry Kramer and classic rock and roll. Justin Cassino, his family, and a guest or two with fun music from New Orleans and beyond. And just a reminder, this only works if everyone follows the safety guidelines for COVID, which means wearing a mask, staying physically distant at least 6 feet from each other, or staying in your car. Move along to the next performer and circle back if more than 25 people are gathered at a site. PorchFest is coming back. It's Saturday, May 1st from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Next are the results from the annual town election that was held on March 29th. The Select Board position was won by incumbent Osler Peterson. Town Clerk was won by Marion Benaldi. Incumbent Scott McDermott was re-elected to Moderator. Michael Rose was elected to the Board of Assessors. The only contended race was that of the School Committee. Incumbent Leo Brem won re-election to that position. Jessica Raza and Kirsten Cole were elected as Library Trustees. Incumbent Robert Tatro was re-elected as Park Commissioner. Incumbent Lisa Donovan was re-elected to Housing Authority. Sarah Lemke was re-elected to the Planning Board for a 5-year term. Seth Meehan was re-elected to Planning Board for a 2-year term. And finally, Michael Pastore was elected as Trust Fund Commissioner. Up next, we have a few clips from the live one-year anniversary celebration of the Mike Paige Doodle Club that aired on March 18th.
Hi, welcome to the Mike Paige Doodle Club one-year anniversary episode. I'm your host, Mike Paige, and I'm joined in studio today by my good friend Brett Poirier of Medfield TV.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. This is one of my favorite shows that I've ever been a part of. And so I'm so excited to be celebrating one whole year of the Doodle Club. Of course, what is a Doodle Club episode without you showing us how to doodle something? We get to doodle you, your face.
Yeah, so when we were discussing what we would draw today, you said, well, clearly we should learn how to draw you. So sorry guys, you're stuck drawing me today as one of the doodles, but I do have one other drawing in mind afterwards. And then just real quick, kick the pen out on either side to show that I have some shoulders there. And that is the Mike Paige Doodle Club logo, brand new for this year. Hope you enjoyed following along for that one.
Do you want to see mine?
Yeah, I want to see yours.
Okay, I decided, I just did a picture of me with my fictional fish, Alicia.
That is amazing. Is that Kathy's not the best at following directions, but that is an incredible doodle. I love it.
He can't stop teaching.
I know, I know.
He can't stop.
You have a lot of like Mike Paige-isms, like kick it out. Like if you had merch, what would it have on it?
I don't know. Maybe I need to come up with a Kick It Out t-shirt.
Maybe.
Thank you so much for giving us one whole year of the Doodle Club. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
But the fine people over at Donut Express were so excited. They asked me what little kid drew this dinosaur, and I had to explain to them.
This guy. Mike Paige Doodle Club can be found on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of them. Type in Mike Paige Doodle Club unless you're on Facebook, and then type in the Mike Paige Doodle Club.
The full live event is available to watch on the newly created Mike Paige Doodle Club YouTube channel. Up next is Mike Quinlan of the Elementary School Project, answering questions submitted by the public.
Mike Quinlan, I'm the chair of the School Building Committee for the town of Medfield. For those that may not have seen, we've been working on coming up with the best possible option to repair or replace the existing Dale Street School. Our current preferred option is a replacement school. That'll be at the Wheelock site, and we're super excited about it. We think it's a great option. We think there's a lot of great opportunities for the kids to really have a great space to learn in. And as we approach a fall town meeting, special town meeting, to vote on the project and vote on funding of the project, we'll be spending more and more time making sure the word gets out about what we're asking for from the town. And we certainly have some challenges that we need to get through financially, but because it's a big ask, but we believe we're going to be able to present the best possible option for the town.
Awesome. We're going to start with one of the questions. What were the major factors that led to the SBC selecting the Wheelock site? What are the synergistic opportunities from having 2nd and 5th grade in one larger campus? How will resources be shared? How will this affect school budget needs going forward?
There are two major categories that I would say led to that decision. The first is the educational benefits, and then the second had to do with physical limitations of the existing site. So I'll take the educational benefits first. Our current model has kids going from pre-K and 1 at Memorial to a 2 to 3 at Wheelock, and then back to the Memorial Dale site for 4 to 5, and then off to the middle school, high school site. So basically in 5 years, from 1st grade to 6th grade, kids are transitioning 3 times within 5 years, and that's something that can be a struggle for a lot of kids. So by moving the grades 4 to 5 to the Wheelock site, we now have, at the very least, while they are separate buildings, we have a campus that's a 2 to 5 campus. So kids are transitioning from the Memorial School to the upper elementary school campus of 2 to 5, and then to Blake and the high school. So it basically takes at least one site transition out of the equation. What that also does is that allows the programs, things especially with special ed, where teachers can then transition with the kids, so that they could be easily transitioned from 2 to 3 up to 4 to 5 and still be able to work with the same kids. And on top of that, then the physical resources. By building a new elementary school up to today's standards, where we actually include gym space that is far superior to the existing gym space they have currently, as well as amenities like the band and music spaces. Those are spaces that could be utilized by the Wheelock kids now as well, since they would be a short walk across the courtyard to those areas. Outdoor learning is becoming more and more integrated into elementary school education, and having a site that has the flexibility and the space to be able to accommodate creative spaces outside. So that leads me to the physical constraints of the different sites. The Dale Street site is approximately 17 acres, and it's currently about 40% covered by building and impervious area, parking lots, etc. And putting a new building or even an expanded existing Dale on site increases that to almost 52%. That is a density that we would expect to see in a place like Cambridge, Somerville, Newton, Watertown, not in a town like Medfield. The Wheelock site is 48 acres, and if the new school gets approved, the amount of impervious area would go from 10% to 22%.
This question is another one that we combined, Renee and Jessica. It says, there is clear division in town around building this school at Wheelock. Please clearly outline the steps to be followed if the town votes no. How much would we forfeit in time and state aid if the town votes against the proposed project?
We need a 2/3 vote on a debt exclusion in order to get that approved. That's a very high bar. So let's assume, let's assume something happens where we get 65% of the vote, but not 66.67%. If it's that close, then we might choose to revote it. The MSBA, we would write to the MSBA and ask them, say we're close, but we think that, we can maybe perhaps sway a few voters to change their mind. And they would likely grant us an extension to be able to revote the same project. Let me be clear though, that's the same project. That would mean the same site, the same size. The budget could be reduced if there was something we could do that wouldn't sacrifice the program, the educational program, if it just meant, taking some dollars out to be able to get us over the finish line if that were the issue, then we would be allowed to do that. That would have to happen pretty quickly. We would have to revote it quickly. If there were a major gap, let's say, for instance, it came out 50-50 or something like that, the town would then have a few options. Could decide just to do nothing at all, and we are continue to operate in our existing condition with the same issues that we're facing at the Dale Street School. The town could choose to resubmit a new statement of interest with the MSBA to get back into the program. That would likely take a minimum of 4 to 5 years for that cycle to go through. The MSBA does not have the ability just to tie up funds infinitely while we sort of tinker around, figure out what we want to do as a town. They have many towns that are aching for the kind of support that right now they've committed to us. So if we don't show them that we're ready to support a school of this type of project, then they will move on and we will have to try it again. And then, the other option would be that we build a school by ourselves. And in order to do that without the MSBA support, it would obviously have to be significantly less expensive and thus significantly smaller. And we'd have to consider whether it'd be even large enough to cover our current enrollments. So that would be something that would be an option. It may not be a great option, but those are the options.
So what happens if at the town meeting in the fall we decide to vote yes?
We would enter into a project funding agreement with the MSBA, which outlines, who's paying for what and how that's being paid and that type of thing. So once we vote yes, there'll be another approximately 10 months or so of design before construction starts. But construction would start in 2022, and depending on which construction method we use, it would either open in 2024 if we decide to use a construction manager. It's a fairly complicated difference between the two, but if we use a general contractor, which is a different procurement method in Massachusetts, there is slightly more time associated with that, and based on where we would fall for the start of construction, it would have to be after the winter, so it's a little bit longer. So that pushes the schedule out probably till September of 2025. I hope everyone will take a look at the website. There's tons of information there off the Medfield Public Schools website under Elementary School Project. We are working on sort of redesigning, trying to streamline it to make sure all that information is easily accessible. We have regular meetings that are being posted. I encourage everyone to attend and ask questions. We will probably be having those on an almost bi-weekly basis for the next couple of months because we have a lot of decisions to get through. And then we'll be doing more community public forums. And those are important because we want to make sure we're hearing from people, we're hearing from the town. And so attendance of those has been great because of Zoom. It's an incredibly complex project. We're going to be publishing all sorts of information out to the community to ensure that we're informing them as thoroughly as we can. I hope that people will understand where we're coming from and they'll listen to our case that we put in front of the town They'll certainly be hearing from others too, the Warrant Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and other leadership in town. This is a major investment that we're recommending, and it's one that has to last this town at a minimum of 5 decades. And that type of thing, it should never be done lightly. I hope that people who see all the work that's been put into this recognize, we all care deeply. None of us are taking any of this lightly, and this is something that hopefully will serve this town for many years to come.
The full video of Mike Quinlan answering questions from the public regarding the elementary school project is available on our watch page, medfield.tv/watch, or on our YouTube channel, Medfield TV. You can also listen to this and other interviews and meetings on the Medfield TV podcast at medfield.tv/listen or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Our next segment is an update from Representative Jake Auchincloss.
If you want to start by just telling us what life has been like since you won the election and rolled right into your new office.
It's been a fast start to the 117th Congress. My first Wednesday in office was an insurrection. The second Wednesday was an impeachment. The third Wednesday was the inauguration of Joe Biden. And then the fourth Wednesday, we got to work on the American Rescue Plan. So it's difficult to think of another first 100 days in history for a Congress or an administration where more has happened, and frankly, where we've delivered more. And we're just getting started. We've got an infrastructure program in the works. And I expect also that we'll be able to pass important civil rights legislation.
What are some of the things that Medfield residents should be aware of, some of the things that are going on that you're working on?
Well, first, I want to emphasize the American Rescue Plan and what this did. And this did 2 things. The first thing it did is it helped Americans and small businesses in need. It was the greatest expansion of the social safety net since the Great Society. Earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, $1,400 survival checks for those earning less than $75,000, assistance for homeowners or renters struggling with payments or with heating or with utilities, in addition to an expansive grant program for small businesses. So number one, this was a bill that helped people who are hurting. Number two, though, this was a jobs and infrastructure bill. $350 billion for states and cities, $130 billion for K-12 public education, $30 billion for transit, $8 billion for airports. This is money that is going to improve productivity and quality of life for years to come. In Medfield, the town will get directly $1.3 million, and that's not counting the $100 million plus that Norfolk County has received. This money can expressly be used for water, sewer, broadband infrastructure upgrades, which I know are necessary throughout the region. And they can also be used for improvements to schools and to help with learning loss and suspended learning.
What are some of the things that have surprised you now that you're in office and you're working through this process? Are there anything that surprised you about your job?
It's not a surprise. I would guess it's more of a reinforced truth, which is that politics is built on relationships. And my efficacy as a representative from this district is 1, founded on my ability to represent the values of my district, 2, my ability to advance the priorities of my district, and 3, my ability to serve constituent needs in the district. And to do especially number 2, to advance the priorities of my district, I've got to build relationships, not just with stakeholders in the district, state and local elected officials and other advocates, but also build relationships with other members of Congress. So I spend a lot of time, although it's difficult with the pandemic, on the House floor and the Speaker's lobby, meeting people, Democrats and Republicans, to establish that personal rapport first that can then become the kernel of political partnership.
What are some of the things that are exciting you right now as you're in office and you're working towards certain goals? What are some of the things that are getting you excited about going to the office every day?
The progress we're making against the pandemic. President Biden yesterday had his first official news conference, and nobody in the press asked him about COVID-19. I was watching it, I was like, hello, we still have a pandemic going on. It's cost the lives of 500,000 Americans. It has really damaged the economy, and nobody's asking them how we're doing against it. Well, the answer is we're doing well against it here in this country. Multiple 3 million shot days. We're going to blow past the 100 million shots in arms in the first 100 days mark and potentially hit 200 million shots in arms. We have approved the Johnson & Johnson version. AstraZeneca is close behind. We're going to have enough vaccines for every American who wants one by May. And by July 4th, we'll be having barbecues. So good news on beating the pandemic. We're going to have a roaring recovery coming back into it as well. Schools are going to open. The economy is going to open. There's going to be pent up demand. And we're going to have a roaring 20s. Now, let me be the Debbie Downer for a second and just say, all of this is in jeopardy if we don't have a significant global vaccination program. If a new variant emerges in Brazil or Africa or India, because that population remains unvaccinated until 2023, which is currently the trajectory, we're back on our heels. We're dealing with yet another variant that perhaps is not addressed by the current vaccines, and we're back in lockdown. So not only do we have to stay disciplined and maintain the course that we're on here as a country, which is going well, we've got to have a Marshall Plan for vaccines globally.
What are some of the things that people should be aware of as we're moving forward? I mean, I know once you're vaccinated, it's not like whip the mask off and get back out there, but what are some of the things we should be thinking about?
Well, in addition to, as I said, delivering for the district through the appropriations and infrastructure process, ensuring that we continue to get shots in arms, I've been very focused on schools. And the first issue I took on, actually even before taking office formally, was pooled coronavirus testing for the public schools in the district. We're going to need that type of surveillance testing that creates confidence and transparency amongst parents and faculty members and students in order to keep the schools open, because we can't close them again. We just cannot do it. We need to be monitoring the situation and demonstrating, as we have been, that the schools are safe and kids will be safe and teachers will be safe back in school. The mental, socio-emotional, academic harm is real. Unfortunately, it needs to be addressed. We have money in the ARP directed especially for mental health services, as well as for interrupted and learning loss remediation, and opening up the schools and taking care of our kids and making sure our teachers are safe is a top priority.
What are ways that people can connect with you and get more information from what you're doing for us?
Auchincloss.house.gov is the best place to reach me for constituent services or for commentary. We read everything, and if it's a constituent services request, we respond to everything to ensure that we are delivering for you. And people will also see me being active in delivering for the district through the upcoming infrastructure bill and the upcoming appropriations process. For the first time since Barney Frank was in office, we are returning what used to be called earmarks, what is now called congressionally directed spending. And I am working very closely with state and local officials and with experts to deliver projects that are going to create jobs and improve productivity and quality of life for the district for years to come.
The last segment of this episode is an update from the school committee with Jess Riley.
I am Jessica Riley, and I am the chair of the Medfield School Committee. And I kind of want to just give an update around where we are right now with the schools. And obviously, I think the most exciting thing that we're thinking about right now is what's happened today, which is as of the day that we are taping, we have pre-K through 5th grade in school, in person, full-time. So today is not the last time we will have an en masse first day of full-time in-person instruction. On April 5th, our middle school will go back. So Blake Middle School will go back, grades 6 through 8. And then at the high school, those kids will go back full-time on April 12th. We've spent enormous amounts of money on PPE or personal protective equipment and sanitation. And the state has paid for us to do the pooled testing, which has been really, really great. But that funding runs out on April 18th. And then we're kind of on our own. And this group of parents and the MCPE and Mr. Warner have really stepped in to say, okay, we're going to raise funds for that. So they are calling it One Medfield Onward. And my belief is that they are going to start fundraising for that on March 29th. And it's going to be a quick hit, intensive fund drive for 5 days. And I'm sure everybody in town will know about it. But this allows us to kind of respond flexibly through the end of this year and into the beginning of next year if we need to. As more and more people are vaccinated, but it will be a period of time before our youngest children can be vaccinated. How do we keep things moving forward, moving onward? And how do we stay flexible and make sure that we can focus on educating our kids, meeting their social emotional needs that may need increased help over the next year, maintaining their learning progress, helping them elevate where we need to, and it's going to be a period of assessment. But to my mind, I feel like One Medfield Onward transitions us from seeing the light at the end of the tunnel to understanding exactly where the light is. One of the other initiatives that Dr. Marsden announced at our last school committee meeting in March is that he is going to establish a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force built around the model of the social emotional learning task force that we established about 3 years ago, and has really spread the culture of pushing social emotional learning forward throughout our school district. And I think that given that model has been so successful, one of the other things that Dr. Marsden has seen is, and that we've seen all of us, that there are so many people working on these initiatives from a grassroots level on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it seems that there are so many people who are so interested in it and understand how important it is, and know that there are community conversations, school-wide conversations that need to happen, that it was time to bring it into one, kind of under one big top, right? So that we are able to, again, make DEI as much a part of the Medfield kind of curriculum and education as social emotional learning is. There's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done and conversations that need to be had about how it's not simply how we think of our own culture, not simply how we think about difference, not simply how we think about other people's culture, but also the institutional messages, the things that we do every day across the board that enable us to either lift up to equity or that keep equity from happening and keep division in our community. And I think that this is some really exciting work, but there's going to be a lot of conversations in the community, in the schools, across staff, students, administration, as we establish this task force and we really kind of focus on our goals. And in speaking to Dr. Marsden, I know that this is something he would like to start kind of thinking about recruiting sooner than later, and certainly sooner than the fall, all right, so that we can really hit the ground running in September. The last thing we should always talk about, because money does make the world go round, is that we are kind of in the last stages of talking to the warrant committee about our fiscal year 22 budget. The town has received some pretty generous grants from the federal government. There is a grant that's been awarded to Norfolk County that is specifically targeted towards Medfield, or whatever that share is. And then we have also gotten, the schools have also gotten a certain amount of money. It's estimated as of this weekend, I think, to be, $414,000. However, again, we always talk about flexibility of funding, what that funding can be used for, right? So right now we're kind of figuring out where that shakes out, where we can apply that money. Can we apply that to fiscal year 21, which we're still in, and we're still kind of talking about this is the fiscal year that never ends? Or is it only applying to fiscal year 22, which we're just about at the point where we'll be voting that in, assuming we'll be voting that in at annual town meeting. But we're at the end of kind of talking to the warrant committee around that right now. And I think that's a really positive conversation that we're having.
Watch the full update from the school committee as well as full episodes of all of our shows on our website, medfield.tv/watch, or on our YouTube page, Medfield TV. Listen to this and other meetings, interviews, and our original podcasts at medfield.tv/listen, as well as on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. To stay up to date with all things Medfield, be sure to like Medfield TV on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Medfield TV. Lastly, don't forget to tune in to our cable stations, channels 8, 12, and 22 on Comcast, and channels 36, 45, and 47 on Verizon. That's it for the March 2021 episode. See you next month for another episode of Mupdates, your monthly Medfield updates.